Welcome back to the deep dive. It is really great to have you with us.
Great to be here.
Today, we're not just, analyzing a news story from a distance. We're stepping directly into the smoke-filled sanctuary of a church in central Kenya. We're looking at this singular, chaotic Sunday, January 25, 2026. That might just be the defining moment for the future of Kenyan politics.
It's a moment that quite literally exploded. I mean,
Yeah.
we are talking about tear gas in the nave, live bullets in the churchyard.
And one of the most recognizable faces in the country, former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, forced to flee for his life.
Fleeing through a thicket of all things. It's an unbelievable scene.
The imagery is absolutely wild. We've got a whole stack of sources here to help us piece this together. Reports from Dawn Africa, The Standard, Daily Nation, Capital News.
In a very dense, very troubling geopolitical risk analysis document that really ties it all together.
And they all converge on this one event in a town called Othaya. But, before we even get to the tear gas and the escape, let's set the stage. Why Othaya? Why does this specific town matter so much in the grand chessboard of the 2027 election?
Well, Othaya isn't just a constituency, it's a symbol. It's the home of the late President Mwai Kibaki.
Okay, right. The third president.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
in the unwritten rules of Mount Kenya politics, Othaya represents legacy. It represents a sort of a gentlemanly side of power. It has this prestige.
So for Rigathi Gachagua, who was, let's not forget, impeached and removed from the deputy presidency back in October 2024,
Right.
going to Othaya wasn't just a random Sunday service.
Not at all. It was a statement. He was effectively planting his flag in the very heart of the region's history, in Kibaki's backyard.
And he was there to popularize his new political vehicle, the Democracy for Citizens Party, the DCP.
That's the one. And according to the timeline that we've pieced together from the sources, he arrives at the Widima ACK Church, and, things start off fairly standard.
Praise and worship, political pleasantries, the usual Sunday routine for a politician.
Exactly. But then, around mid-service, the atmosphere it shifts. Violently.
And violently is the right word here, isn't it? Because this wasn't just some heckling or a shouting match.
No, this was a tactical assault. The eyewitness reports describe a breach of the church gates by a group of men.
Just force their way in.
Pushed their way through.
Yeah.
And this is where the details get very specific and, frankly, very concerning. Witnesses describe some of these men as wearing jungle jackets.
Wait, jungle jackets? You mean like military fatigues, camouflage?
Precisely. In the Kenyan context, that specific type of camouflage is often associated with specialized police units.
So the GSU, the Rapid Deployment Unit, that kind of thing.
Yes. These are not clothes you just pick up at the market. Now, other witnesses describe them as goons, but the coordination, the equipment, it suggests something far more organized than just a rowdy, angry crowd.
And they didn't come empty-handed.
No, they did not. They brought tear gas.
Into the church.
Into the church.
I just want to pause on that for a second because it's such a visceral violation. I mean, we've all seen tear gas used in the streets. We've seen it at protests in Nairobi.
It's become almost routine in some contexts.
But deploying chemical dispersants inside an enclosed sanctuary with a congregation.
It completely changes the nature of the conflict. You are introducing a panic agent into a confined space filled with, about 500 people?
And we're talking about families?
We are talking about grandmothers, children, people in their Sunday best. The reports explicitly mention a young girl fainting and needing to be resuscitated.
Oh, wow.
When you fire tear gas into a church, you aren't just dispersing a political rally. You're risking a stampede. You are risking lives in a way that just shows a complete disregard for any kind of collateral damage.
It's a line that you just don't cross.
A line that was, until recently, considered sacred.
And the sources say it wasn't just the gas. There was also the sound of gunfire.
Live ammunition. Bullets ringing out. The reports say they were fired into the air and also reportedly toward the church structures themselves.
So just imagine that for a second. You're sitting in a pew, you're listening to a sermon, maybe the choir is singing.
And the sound of hymns is suddenly replaced by the crack of gunfire and the hiss of gas canisters. It's pure terror.
So while the entire congregation is choking outside the church, there's a whole different operation going on.
Yes, a very targeted destruction of property.
It's not random vandalism.
Not at all. The analysts are calling it economic sabotage. The attackers didn't just smash a few windows here and there. They went straight for Gachagua's motorcade.
Vehicles?
His vehicles were vandalized. At least one vehicle was torched, apparently using incendiary devices. They also made a point of destroying the public address systems.
The microphones, the speakers, that feels very strategic.
It is deeply strategic. Look, if you're a politician, your voice is your weapon. Your vehicle is your lifeline. It's how you move, how you project power. So if I burn your car and I smash your microphone, I've effectively silenced you. I've stranded you. It sends a very clear message.
And that message is what?
You can come here, but you are not leaving on your own terms.
Yeah.
We control this space now.
Which brings us to the escape. And this is the part of the story that just reads like a spy thriller. They're calling it the Panya route.
The Panya route. And for our listeners who might not know the local slang, Panya is the Swahili word for rack.
A rat run.
A rat run, exactly. A small, unofficial, probably thorny path that's used to smuggle things, or in this case, to evade capture.
So just picture this. You have Rigathi Gachagua, a man who less than 2 years ago had a siren-blaring motorcade, and the second highest security clearance in the entire country.
A man surrounded by state power.
Now jumping over a fence and scurrying through the bushes like a fugitive.
It's a profound humiliation, and you have to assume that's part of the point. But it also speaks to a total collapse of his security architecture.
What happened to his official protection?
Well, the reports indicate that his official state security was withdrawn, or at the very least severely compromised, right after his impeachment.
So he's on his own.
He's relying on private security details.
Yeah.
But the threat level in Othaya, I mean, it was clearly so high that his private team was completely overwhelmed. They couldn't handle an assault of this scale.
And amidst all this chaos, there's this one incredible detail that stood out to me from the reports. This story about the bodyguard.
Yes, this is just an amazing detail. So, the report suggests that one of his bodyguards was specifically identified as a primary target by the attackers. They were looking for him.
They were hunting him.
They were. And to get him out alive, the reverend of the church reportedly gave him clerical robes, vestments, to wear as a disguise.
A bodyguard disguised as a priest to slip past a kill squad.
I mean, you can't make this stuff up. It just highlights the absolute desperation of the moment. The church ceased to be a place of worship and became a sanctuary in the old medieval sense, a place to hide from the sword.
So naturally, after an event like this, the narratives that come out are completely polarized. Gachagua isn't mincing words at all.
Not in the slightest. He took to social media while he was still effectively trapped inside. He posted, and this is a direct quote, "William Ruto has sent a killer squad to kill us. We are marooned in church."
He's not saying thugs or protesters. He's saying killer squad and naming the president.
He is explicitly framing this as a state-sponsored assassination attempt. There's no ambiguity there.
So how does the government respond to an accusation like that, an accusation so direct?
With what you might call bureaucratic distance. The Interior Cabinet Secretary, Kipchumba Murkomen, issued a statement condemning the violence. He called it unacceptable, ordered an immediate probe.
The standard playbook response.
It is the standard law and order response. But then you have the Naraki County Police Commander, a man named Kipchurchur too.
And what did he say?
He claimed that no police officers were at the scene.
Hold on, wait a minute. You have eyewitnesses seeing men in jungle jackets. You have tear gas being used, which is a controlled item. You can't just buy it anywhere.
Right.
And the police commander for the county says his men weren't there.
That is the contradiction. And that contradiction is the fuel for the conspiracy, for Gachagua's entire narrative.
Because it leads to two very bad possibilities.
Two terrible possibilities. If the police genuinely weren't there, then who in Kenya has access to tear gas grenades and military-style fatigues? That implies a private militia is operating with state-level equipment.
Which is terrifying.
And the other option is that the police were there, operating in plain clothes or without official sanction, and the commander is now denying it.
Which is a cover-up.
It's a cover-up.
Yeah.
So either the state has lost control of its monopoly on violence, or it is deploying it covertly and then lying about it. Both of those options are deeply, deeply troubling for a democracy.
It certainly feeds directly into that theory of state complicity. But I want to zoom out a little bit here because the expert analysis that we have in front of us makes a very strong point. It says Othaya was not an isolated incident.
Yeah.
It's not some freak weather event. It's part of a climate change in the political atmosphere.
That's a great way to put it. The analysts call it a longitudinal pattern of political intolerance. It's a bit of a mouthful, but it's accurate. If you look at the timeline provided in the geopolitical risk report, you can actually see the temperature rising month by month.
And it really starts right after the impeachment, doesn't it? That seems to be the catalyst.
That's the flashpoint.
Yeah.
November 2024. A funeral in Lemeru. We saw stone throwing, disruption, and the initial withdrawal of the state security. That was the first warning shot.
What a sign of things to come.
Then you jump forward to April 2025. There was a fundraiser in Kasarani in Nairobi, and the reports describe mercenary youth showing up, disrupting the event, demanding money. It escalated to the point where Gachagua's private security had to fire gunshots.
So the violence is escalating, from stones to guns.
And the disruptions are becoming more organized. But the real turning point, before Othaya, seems to be Kariobangi North.
What happened there?
So this was November 30, 2025. It was supposed to be a Thanksgiving service for DCP electoral victory. And we have to circle back to that victory in a moment because it's hugely significant.
Okay.
But the violence in Kariobangi involved goons on motorbikes armed with crude weapons. The police were there, and they used tear gas and live bullets. But here is the key difference between that incident and Othaya.
What's that?
7 suspects were arrested.
They actually caught them.
They caught them in the nearby Lucky Summer area. And the fact that they were arrested, identified, and linked to the disruption proves that these aren't just random angry citizens.
These are hired hands.
These are urban foot soldiers, as the report calls them. They're organized, they are mobilized, and it's very likely they are on a payroll.
And then just weeks before the Othaya attack, there was another incident in Gatundu.
January 11th, 2026. Gatundu South, and again, another church. The AIPCA church this time.
Tear gas inside the church again.
Tear gas inside the church again. Road blockades were set up using metal barriers and spikes on the road. It got so bad that there's a video mentioned in our sources where Gachagua is forced to wear a helmet and a ballistic vest just to travel down the road.
He's sitting in his car wearing a helmet.
To go to church.
That's unbelievable.
It really drives home the level of physical danger he's facing. And it highlights this deeply disturbing trend that you've pointed out, the repeated attacking of sacred spaces.
That was a line that used to be respected in Kenya, wasn't it? I mean, even in the worst of the post-election violence in the past, the church was usually considered off-limits.
Generally, yes. The church is seen as the ultimate broker of peace in Kenya. It's supposed to be neutral ground. It's where people go for refuge.
Sanctuary.
A literal sanctuary. But by attacking it, by gassing the pews, the attackers are signaling that there are no red lines left. No places off limits. And you're seeing other opposition leaders, like Kalonzo Musyoka and Justin Muturi, pick up on this.
What are they saying?
They're calling it a constitutional crisis. They're basically arguing that if the altar isn't safe from political violence, then the ballot box certainly won't be either.
It's a breakdown of all the old rules.
A complete collapse.
So Gachagua is being hunted, effectively, hounded from church to church. But he isn't hiding, he's building something.
Let's talk about the DCP. What is this Democracy for Citizens Party? Is it a serious contender, or is it just a vanity project for a scorned leader?
Well, it was certainly born out of necessity, right? He was impeached in October 2024, cast out from the ruling UDA party. He needed a new home.
So he built his own.
He built his own. But it's evolving into a very serious threat to the establishment. And the branding, you have to admit, is very clever. The symbol of the party is a listening ear.
A listening ear. That's very distinct. I've never heard of that before. It's a direct, if subtle, critique of the current government. The implication is, they talk at you, we listen to you.
And the slogan reinforces that.
Completely. Skizo wa Kenya, which translates to listen to Kenyans.
I see. So he's positioning himself as the empathetic alternative to what he would paint as an arrogant, out-of-touch administration?
Precisely. And he's not just the lone wolf. He's attracting some very heavy hitters. The biggest name, of course, is Cleophas Malala.
Malala, the former Secretary General of the ruling UDA party.
The very same. He has defected and is now the interim deputy party leader of the DCP.
That is a massive flip. I mean, Malala was the chief mouthpiece of the UDA not that long ago.
It just shows you that in politics, interests often outweigh loyalty. Malala's defection sends a powerful signal that some insiders believe the UDA ship might be leaking or that the future is elsewhere.
It seems like if you look at the electoral performance, they might be right. You mentioned a win in Kariobangi North.
Yes, and this is such a critical data point. In that Kariobangi North Ward by-election, the DCP candidate, a man named David Wanyoik, won.
Okay, a win is a win.
But here's the kicker. The ruling party, UDA, President Ruto's party, they came in fourth.
Fourth? in a Nairobi ward election.
Fourth place in the capital city. For an incumbent party, that is a profound humiliation. It suggests that the hustler narrative, the one that swept Ruto to power in 2022, is losing its grip on the urban poor.
And the DCP proved it can mobilize that exact demographic.
They proved it. It's a proof of concept.
But they didn't win everywhere, right? The sources mention a loss.
No, they lost in Mbir North. UDA won that one. Of course, the DCP claimed rigging. They said the prize was stolen, but that's pretty standard political rhetoric when you lose.
Yeah.
However, it's the polling data that tells a really scary story if you're the government.
What are the numbers saying?
So polls from December 2025 showed the DCP gaining significant traction in a very unexpected place, Western Kenya.
Western Kenya, that's not Gachagwa's base at all. That's traditionally seen as the territory of Musalia Mudavadi, Moses Wetangula, or Raila Odinga.
Exactly. And he's polling at around 20% support there.
20%.
20%. Now, if Gachagua was just polling well in his home turf of central Kenya, Ruto and the UDA could probably write him off as a regional, tribal chieftain, a local problem.
But if he's cracking 20% in Western...
He's building a national profile. He's expanding the map. And that makes him exponentially more dangerous to the president's re-election math for 2027.
Speaking of the president, let's switch screens for a moment. This is one of the most compelling parts of the analysis. While Rigathi Gachagua was jumping fences and dodging tear gas in Othaya, where was President William Ruto?
That's the split-screen reality that the analysis highlights so well. While all that chaos was unfolding in the church, President Ruto was just a few kilometers away at the Sagana State Lodge.
He was in the neighborhood.
Right down the road. And what was he doing?
Not attending church, I presume?
He was hosting 18,000 UDA grassroots leaders.
18,000?
18,000 people. I mean, just think about the logistics of that. It's a massive show of force.
It's a deliberate contrast.
It's completely deliberate. It's designed to say, you see that chaos down the road in Othaya? That's just noise. That's the past. Here at Sagana, this is the machine. This is the future.
And he's deploying a strategy that the analysis calls a charm offensive.
Or, maybe more accurately, the bypass strategy.
How does that work?
Ruto understands that he's lost the regional kingpins, like Gachagua. He's not going to win them back. So he's bypassing them entirely and going directly to the voters.
With what?
With development as a weapon. He's opening the state checkbook.
So we're talking about tangible projects.
Big-ticket items that people can see and feel. For example, he's announced the resumption of the Mau Mau roads, which had stalled at about 20% completion. That's a huge emotional issue for people in that region.
What else?
He's launching a 21 billion shilling affordable housing project in Nyeri. He's dispersing 500 million shillings to youth groups through something called the NYOT program. He's opening modern markets, like the one in Karatina.
So the message to the average voter is crystal clear. Gachagua brings you grievances and tear gas. I bring you roads, houses, and cash.
Exactly. It's a binary choice between projects and politics, between development and disruption. And to help sell this message, he is actively grooming a new kingpin for the mountain region.
The current deputy president, Kithure Kindiki.
Yes. The entire state machinery is positioning Kindiki as the legitimate spokesperson for the region. The UDA Youth League even put out a public statement telling Gachagua to, and I quote, stop forcing himself on the mountain, and they fully endorse Kindiki.
So it's a battle for the title of Muthamaki, the leader of the community.
It is. The direct challenge. And it seems to be working on some key figures. The governor of Nyeri, Mutahi Kahiga.
I remember him. He was one of Gachagua's most vocal and loyal defenders during the impeachment process.
He was a stalwart. But he has defected. He is now firmly in President Ruto's camp.
Wow, that must have hurt Gachagua's camp.
It's a major blow. But it also demonstrates the sheer power of the incumbency. When the President of the Republic comes to your county with a 21 billion shilling housing project, it is very, very hard for a governor to say no. The state has a gravity well that just pulls people in.
So we have the physical violence on one hand. We have the high-level political maneuvering on the other. But there's a third front in this war, isn't there? The one happening online, the information war.
This is the part that's often invisible, but can be just as deadly to a political movement. Our sources from Africa Check highlight a really sophisticated disinformation campaign that's targeting the DCP.
And we're not just talking about random angry tweets or memes.
No, this is much more professional. We're talking about high-quality forgeries, specifically fake newspaper front pages.
I saw mentions of this. They're creating fake covers of the standard newspaper.
Yes. and they look completely real. They use the same font, the same layout, the same date. They just change the headline and the photo. But the headlines are complete lies.
Can you give us an example?
Sure. One fake front page was circulating with a giant headline that screamed, "DCP is dead." It claimed there were moles in the party, that betrayal was rampant.
And what was the real headline that day?
The actual headline on the Standard for that day was "Wind of Change." They literally photoshopped the reality out of existence.
That is incredibly dangerous, because if you just glance at that on a newsstand, or more likely in a WhatsApp group, you'd believe it. You'd think the party had collapsed overnight.
That's the entire point. And some of them are even more malicious. There was another fake headline claiming Gachagua had vowed to burn Kenya if he loses the election in 2027.
Burn Kenya. I mean, that's straight up incitement.
It's designed to trigger the national trauma of the 2007 post-election violence. It frames Gachagua not just as a political opponent, but as a monster, a maniac who would burn the country down just to get power.
And the goal there is what?
To scare away the middle class, the business community, anyone who prioritizes stability over political change. It's designed to make him toxic.
And the sources mentioned others too, right? Claims that Malala had been fired.
All fake. A fabricated story about a non-existent party meeting. Claims that Gachagua had called another opposition figure, Fred Matiang'i, a mole. Also a doctored front page.
So why go to this much trouble? Why create these elaborate forgeries?
It's about perception management. It's about creating a fog of war around your opponent. If a voter doesn't know what's true and what's false, if they think the DCP is chaotic or that Gachagua is unstable, they disengage. Or they just stick with the devil they know.
And it must also be aimed at his potential allies.
Absolutely. It's designed to alienate potential coalition partners. If you're Kalonzo Musyoka and you see a headline saying Gachagua wants to burn Kenya, you can think twice about signing a political deal with him.
It's gaslighting on a national scale.
Effectively, yes. And unfortunately, it often works.
So let's try to put this all together. We have the physical attack in Othaya, the rise of the DCP, the state's massive development blitz, and this pervasive fake news campaign. What does the geopolitical analysis say is the biggest risk here? What's the ultimate danger?
The core theme that comes up again and again is the fracturing of the mountain. The Mount Kenya region is no longer a monolithic voting bloc. It is now split.
Split between who?
Between the elected mandate, those who are still loyal to Gachagua from the 2022 election, and the appointed leadership, which is Kindiki, and the powerful state machine that backs him.
And when a mountain fractures, you get landslides.
You get instability. But the specific risk that the analysts are most concerned about is something they call militia politics.
Explain what that means.
Well, think about it from Gachagua's perspective after the Othaya incident. If you believe the police are the ones attacking you, or at least complicit in the attack.
You're not going to call 999 for help next time.
Exactly. You're going to hire more private security. You're going to recruit your own loyal youths to protect your rallies.
He forms his own militia.
He forms a counterforce.
Sure.
And in response, the state-aligned groups will ramp up their own goons to counter him. And suddenly, you have an arms race.
Not an arms race of missiles and tanks, but
Of machetes, clubs, and tear gas. You have rival groups of young men clashing in every town square. The analysts call this the third world interiorization of politics.
a regression, a move away from democratic norms.
It's a complete abandonment of the formal protocol, debates, voting, peaceful rallies, in favor of raw physical coercion. And the Othaya incident is what they call a diagnostic event.
What does that mean?
It means it's a symptom that tells us the patient, in this case, Kenya's democracy, is running a very, very high fever.
And Gachagua's strategy to counter all this is to build a wider coalition.
That's his only real move. He's trying to build a coalition of the willing. He's been seen talking to Kalonzo Musyoka of the Wiper Party, Eugene Wamalwa of DPK. Their goal is explicitly stated to make William Ruto a one-term president.
But is that coalition solid? Is it holding together?
Far from it. And that's another fracture. You have influential figures like James Orengo from the ODM party publicly warning against joining any coalition without their own candidate at the top. The opposition is arguably just as fragmented as the mountain is.
It just sounds like a very fragile, very combustible situation all around.
Extremely. And you have to remember, we're still more than a year out from the actual election. If we're seeing live bullets and tear gas in churches in January of 2026, what does August of 2027 look like?
That is the question that should keep everyone up at night.
It absolutely should.
I want to circle back to one thing before we wrap up, because it just sticks in my mind. The image of the bodyguard in the priest's disguise.
It's so powerful. It might be the defining image of this entire crisis.
It feels so symbolic. It suggests that in this new political climate, survival requires improvisation. It requires hiding in plain sight.
It requires going underground.
Sure.
When the state withdraws its protection, you have to use panyarits, you have to use disguises. It signals a return to the politics of the underground, something Kenya hasn't really seen on this level since the repressive era of the 1980s or early 90s.
Which is deeply ironic for a man who was the deputy president of the republic just a few short months ago.
It shows you how quickly power evaporates and how brutal the consequences can be. You can be on the throne one day and fleeing through the bushes the next.
So, to recap for everyone listening, we've covered the chaotic Othaya church attack, the jungle jackets, the tear gas, the desperate escape.
We've looked at the escalating pattern of violence in sacred spaces, from Kariobangi to Gatundu.
We've analyzed the rise of Gachagua's DCP and the state's powerful counter-strategy of big money development funds and propping up Kindiki.
And we've debunked the fake news campaign that's trying to kill this new party in the crib.
Yeah.
We've really laid out the entire ecosystem of this conflict.
And it leaves us, and you, with a very heavy final thought to consider.
It does.
If a former deputy president, a man with resources, connections, and international visibility, can be tear-gassed in a church and forced to flee through a thicket in his own backyard,
While the current president holds a massive rally just down the road,
then who is safe?
what does that say about the safety and the rights of the ordinary voter come 2027?
Is the mountain crumbling under the pressure, or is it just being reshaped by fire?
That is the question, and I fear the answer will be written in smoke.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. Stay safe, stay skeptical, and keep your eyes open.
Until next time.